Welcome back to Talk of the Town with Sean McCluskey.
Alrighty, we're back. It's Talk of the Town, and I am Sean McCluskey. My guest today is Secretary of State Michelle Reagan. Thank you for joining me. Secretary of State, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me back.
Oh, always. You are a lot of fun. I really do appreciate you coming on because you're full of energy, and my goodness, you are the right person for this job because you stay busy.
I am busy. I've had a big Mountain Dew already.
Yeah, that's what I'm drinking right in front of me. I love it. See, I knew I liked her for a reason. Birds of a feather. No, last weekend, or was that 2 weekends ago? Yeah, 2 weekends ago, we had our state committee meeting, and you were off, and you were with a bunch of other Secretary of States doing your thing. So we didn't get to see you up there, which you were sadly missed. However, you were out doing things for the state of Arizona, so we appreciate that as well. My question to you, I'm going to start right off the bat. We've got our House of Representatives talking about ballot harvesting. What do you think about what's going on there? And do you think it'll pass? And do you think we can put a little kibosh to this whole nonsense?
Well, I'm happy to see them taking the issue up again. This was something I started working on when I was in the legislature, and started. I think I ran this bill 3-4 years ago. It's a loophole in the law. I like to point out that we are unfortunately the only state that has not closed this loophole. So 49 other states do not allow this activity. When I go and speak to Secretary of State groups, it doesn't matter, Republican Secretary of State, Democrat Secretary of States, they're shocked that we allow this to happen. Their mouths kind of drop open and they say, "You allow what?" And I say, "Yeah, it's not... like I said, it's absolutely unheard of in other states that you have people just going around and picking up other people's ballots, and that it's completely legal." So I'm not accusing these groups of doing anything illegal, because they're not. It's completely legal in state law, and my point has always been it should not be legal. We have, when you go around and collect petition signatures for candidates, you have to sign the back of the signature sheet to say who you are.
Yes, you do.
And that's just for collecting signatures, yet something as important as a voted ballot, you don't have to do anything. You don't even have to say who you are. You don't even need to be 18 years old. But yet you need to be 18, years old to even collect signatures. So I want your listeners to put that in comparison, just how ridiculous the argument is that it should be okay to just go around and pick up ballots.
That's a great argument, because it's a great way to look at it. Being somebody who was removed from a ballot because I didn't get proper signatures, because of the person on the back signed the document incorrectly, that takes, it hits me right home. If you're able to vote and you're able to pay your bills and you're able to conduct normal life in a 30-day period, you should be able to get your ballot into the mail and get it returned, should you not? It
is, I repeat, it is absolutely unheard of in other states. And when I first brought this up at the legislature, it seemed like such a duh kind of bill. I never expected anyone to be robustly opposed to it. These groups that came forward and said that somehow I was trying to block their way of voting, that this was a sinister bill, it was cruel. I was stunned. Are you kidding me? These are mail-in ballots. You're supposed to put them back in the mail. You got it in the mail. You put it in the mail. The state law says, well, if you forget to put it in the mail, or you don't think it's going to get there in time because you waited too long, you can drop it off at a polling place. But nobody said or thought that you were going to give it to, people going around and just collecting them. They could be 11 years old, 12 years old, teenagers, anybody, people from out of state. Let's just bring them in, put them on the streets, let them go around, collect them, and then drop them off at polling places and cause this massive headache when the recorders are trying to count them. It was a loophole. We said, oopsie, we have to go tie up this loophole, close it, and then all of a sudden...
You're doing voter suppression and everything else. It's evil. Yeah.
Really? Come on. Let's be adults about this.
And the reason why I bring this up is because, I listened to some of the committee that was speaking, and I had two gentlemen on last week that were in committee when it went before them. They were shocked to hear people say, well, do you know that you could take the ballot, hold it up to a light, and you can see through the ballot and see where the person voted?
Oh, absolutely you can. In fact, my own elections director was voting in a municipal election in Maricopa County, and he took a picture of his own ballot and posted it on Twitter and said, look, everyone can see how I voted in this particular City of Phoenix election. And which, again, we're working with some of the county recorders that these envelopes need to be opaque. Some of the colors that they use are opaque. Some of them that they use aren't. You absolutely can see. We have photographs of that. For a while, I was saying that you could see through the envelopes. People were kind of poo-pooing that and saying, oh, no, you can't. You're Chicken Little. I said, yes, you can. You don't even need any special lights. You just hold it up to the sun.
Yeah, the sky's not falling. It's true that you can actually see through these. And what does that do? That gives a person an opportunity to take 5,000 ballots and go, oh, I like this one. I don't like this one. I like this one. I don't like this one. I'm going to turn in the ones I like and forget about the rest.
And again, we're not accusing people of saying that happens. It's just that why do we want a system that has the potential for that? And I like to make that very clear. I'm not accusing any group of doing anything nefarious. I'm just saying, as the chief elections officer in the state, we want a system that we know is free from the potential of fraud. That's the gold standard, and that's what we should all be striving for. And that's nothing to be ashamed of.
Not at all. Not at all. I think it's a good standard to uphold, and it prevents anybody from doing anything illegitimate, if you will. And I like that effect.
You know how campaigns get. You get heated, and it's intense, and your volunteers want to see you win, and it's just, why would you even want to present the temptation?
Yeah, take away the opportunity to have the opportunity to do it, and then that it can't be done, and that makes it fair and level for everybody. So it's because if one person won't do it because they have morals and integrity, and the other person's a little suspect, they may want to push the envelope and try to get that victory. So we can take that away from them.
And this is across party lines. This isn't saying one party's bad, one party's good. This is just saying let's just make sure the system is fair for all, and that's my job. So kudos to the legislature. I hope they get it passed this year. It shouldn't be as tough as it is. I still don't understand the pushback. We hear a lot of stuff from a lot of complaints from people in older communities that say that they feel like they're being preyed on when people come to them and act legit, with the T-shirts made up and, hey, I'm with county elections, I'm here to get your ballot. Then they don't know, they think, okay, and no, nobody should be coercing somebody to give you their ballot.
Yeah, absolutely, and it restores the checks and balances in our voting system, and that's what we need. I want to switch gears a little bit with you and go towards some of the transparency items that you've been working with. I got to listen to speak at one of the Republican meetings a couple of months ago, and was fascinated by all the things that your office had to do when you first took office. You had to go in and update everything because you couldn't do anything online, and you guys have brought your office into the 21st century, if you will.
Well, we brought it into the 1990s.
Yeah.
We're aiming to bring it into 2016. It's just we had a lot of work to do. We updated the website, which sounds kind of lame, but it's not, because it was really old, clunky, hard to navigate. It's a little easier to navigate now, although we're continuing to make improvements. It's mobile friendly, which is also very handy. We're going to be coming out with some apps this year, mobile apps. People will be able to download them. It'll tell people where their polling locations are. If polling locations change, it'll send you text messages. It's very interactive. It'll allow people to have their copies of their ballot text message to them, not so that they can vote, but so that they can have copies of their ballots when they go into polling places. It'll give you alerts of, hey, Sean, the election's 2 days away. Do you know where your polling location is? Do you want directions? Do you want me to text you the results of, your favorite candidates if they won or lost the next day, so you don't have to go and search? We're going to be coming out with amazing product that we know no other state has when it comes to transparency. We've been working on it all summer and all fall. We'll be releasing that in about 2 months. Currently trying to name the program. And so the leading contenders so far are Trace the Money, Arizona's ATM, and Shine a Light. Those are the 3 leading contenders so far. So maybe
I like Shine a Light.
Can get on and get on Facebook and weigh in on what name they like. But you're going to be able to pull up any candidate, any political action committee, or any independent expenditure online. You're going to be able to click on that, and a window's going to pop open, and right there you're going to be able to see all the people that have contributed to that candidate or PAC with the dollar amounts listed. Very nice, very easy. You're going to be able to see all the money going in, all the money going out. Right now, all of that stuff is on paper. It's hard to find. A lot of it, if it is online, it's on PDFs. You have to download them, compare them. So just, pull up a name, Michelle Reagan, see who's contributed to me with the dollar amounts. If you see some big bad lobbyist that you want to know more about, click on that person. Another window will pop open. Everyone that person's contributed to listed with dollar amounts. Same thing for PACs, same thing for independent expenditures. If you run into a group that doesn't report its contributors, we're going to pull in the IRS 990s, which are their tax reports. That'll be right there online for you, along with their Corporation Commission corporate filings, so you get some names, some addresses of individuals.
The ultimate in transparency.
It's the first of its kind in the country. We've been, like I said, this takes a long time to build something like this. And we're roping in municipalities, too. Here's the other thing that is so crazy when people talk about transparency. I've been taking a lot of hits in the press about transparency, what's she doing? She's not doing anything about it. Well, that's bogus.
And you are Secretary of State Michelle Reagan, just to put that out there so everybody knows. And you've been taking hits in the press over it, but go ahead, continue.
Well, and here's the thing that's so ironic about that. If we want true transparency in the state, it can't just be focused on statewide officials and on the legislature. We also have 91 different jurisdictions reporting, and that's cities and counties and towns. And that's on the local level, and most of them are reporting on paper to their municipal jurisdiction. So what I mean by that is your city council candidates or your county candidates and elected officials report, but they report not to the state. And so if you really want to get a true picture of transparency, that big bad lobbyist I talked about.
Sure.
When you click on that person's name, you should also be able to get if they've contributed to a judge, a justice of the peace, a city council candidate, a mayor up in Flagstaff, a councilman down in Yuma. You can't get that right now unless you physically get in your car, drive to all these places, pull paper copies. To talk transparency is silly unless all of those financials come through the Secretary of State's office. And by building this system that we've built, that's what this will allow. So in 2017, what you're going to see is the cities, counties, and towns reporting through the Secretary of State's office instead of through the cities, so that all of us are reporting to the same place and the public gets the real picture of who's contributing to who.
It's going to be one-stop shopping with complete click-through.
Amazing.
Yeah, click-through transparency. That's going to be great.
But this stuff takes a while to build, and so it doesn't happen overnight. So I went and put my head down this summer and just started building it, and have spent an incredible amount of time and roped in talent from the private sector to help me build this. And I said, well, I'll just hunker down like a little turtle and take all the arrows, and they can say about me what they will. But when we release this product, we're going to own the license, and we'll be able to sell it to other states. And so we're so excited, we're so thrilled, and we just can't wait to debut it.
I can't wait. This is going to be great. Secretary of State Michelle Reagan, I've got a caller for you. Barney called in, 520-790-2040. Go ahead, Barney.
Good morning. I was going to comment on the vilification you received with regard to your first push at reining in the ballot harvesting. But I have to say, just listening on hold for the last few minutes, very impressive, all the things you're pushing to do. And talking about vilification, Arizona is a state that gets vilified nationally, but we are on the leading edge of so many things, and this is just another example of it.
It really is, and I think we're on the cusp of something really exciting. And again, when I go to national conventions, we talk about some of the stuff we're doing in Arizona, we really are the first in some of these things. And let me give you an example. The way that we match voters against our driver's license files to make sure that they're citizens and able to be registered to vote. We were the first of the first state to be able to do that. That was something under Maricopa County Recorder Helen Purcell. And other states right now are trying to copy that. I was just talking to a Secretary of State, Delbert Hosemann, on the East Coast, and they're trying to copy our system that we've had in place for years. What I'm saying is that, yes, we get inundated with how bad we are and how horrible we are, and we do have many, many areas we can improve in, but we rarely take the time to celebrate when we do something good. And why I'm so excited to be able to go on radio generally and talk about these programs when we release them is because we want people to, one, know about these programs, and two, to use them. And because otherwise it's a waste of time.
Michelle, a quick note I was originally calling about the vilification you get, and as you run again for elective office, you're going to see it. But we should not, as conservatives, ever be surprised by this, because this is classic Alinsky tactics. You do something good, the left doesn't like it, they vilify you, they accuse you of things that aren't so, you're suppressing votes, you're hurting minorities, and it's a distracting and hurtful tactic, but never be surprised by it, because as you run again, you're going to see it again.
Yes, I thank you for reminding me of that. But I saw it in the little 8 weeks that I had that general election, and it woke me up. So I think I'll be more prepared next time.
Secretary of State Michelle Reagan, if you will, hang on the line for me. Barney, thanks for the call. We're going to take a quick break. We got to pay some bills. We'll be right back after this. It's Talk of the Town with Sean McCluskey, and my guest today is Secretary of State Michelle Reagan. If you want to give us a call, 520-790-2040. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town with Sean McCluskey.
Hey, that's me. It's Talk of the Town. Thanks for joining us. Today's guest is Michelle Reagan. She is our Secretary of State here in Arizona. And this, like I said when I kicked it off, this lady has been busy. Been in office for just a little over a year and really upgraded and benefited. And the office has done a lot since you've got there. And I do thank you for that. What are some of the other things that you guys do? Because it's not all about election integrity and elections. You have a lot of different opportunities for folks to engage with your office. And what are some of those other services?
Well, this surprises most people. The Secretary of State is in charge of state libraries, at the Capitol Museum, the Braille and Talking Book services, the Address Confidentiality Program, which serves almost 1,000 people, mainly people when they're leaving the domestic violence shelters and going in to resume their lives. Business services is the biggest part of the Secretary of State's office. Trademarks, trade names, apostilles, UCC filings, partnerships. It's about 7,000 filings a month for businesses. I like to say when you're a business, and you come to Arizona, one of the first places you go is your Secretary of State's office. It's a massive agency. It's about $20 million agency. I have 160 employees.
Wow.
They're in 11 locations around the state, and just kind of put it in perspective, most people know it as the state's second highest office, so I'm your de facto lieutenant governor.
Yes, you are.
But of that $20 million, the elections division, which is probably the one that everyone knows the most, is about $2 million of it. So it kind of puts it in perspective just how big your Department of State is.
Well, and you also do, you also take care of athletic agents as well, which I thought was interesting.
That's a most people, I didn't realize this while I was in the legislature, but if you are a sports agent, you must file with the Secretary of State's office. We do keep records of all sorts of things that most people don't realize. The life registry is something that I've gotten to work on quite a bit. I work with Donate Life Arizona, where if you wish to be an organ donor, we keep the records of that in case there's ever a question, or in case a family wants to know someone's wishes. Who keeps those records? That's at the Secretary of State's office. Advanced directives, all those kind of things. So it's pretty massive, and I love it because it's so diverse.
Well, there should be never a boring day in your life.
There's never a boring day. And then I'm on the road quite a bit. And, just one of the things that I think has been really exciting is I was able to get really involved in the National Lieutenant Governor Association, and I actually got on their board. So now I'm on the executive board, and I represent the western states. So that's pretty cool for Arizona because we have a seat now on the national table. And I'm bringing the convention, the National Lieutenant Governor Association Convention, to Arizona this December. So our 2016 winter meeting will be in Arizona. So all of the lieutenant governors from around the country will be in Arizona this winter. No better place to be than Arizona in the winter.
Well, no, it's no better. Good for you. I mean, kudos, because you get a seat at the table, and then hey, by the way, we should do this in Arizona because the weather's beautiful, and now you're bringing in outside sales tax dollars to us, and we thank you for that.
Well, it's not the money. Yes, a little bit of money, but it's not really the money that they'll be spending. What's more important to me is these are the number twos from around the state or from around the country. And it's a great opportunity for us Arizonans to show them the Arizona that we know and love, not the Arizona that they've heard about or perhaps that they think they know.
Absolutely.
So they can go back home to all their 49 other states and tell their number ones, their governors, how phenomenal Arizona is. And so that opportunity just could not be passed up. So we fought really hard to get this.
Governor Ducey's lucky to have you as Secretary of State. Secretary of State Michelle Reagan, hold on 1 second. I've got Terry on the line for you, and we've got another caller after that. Terry, go ahead. How you doing?
Yeah, we're real lucky there. Yeah, Sean and Michelle, how are you guys doing?
Outstanding, thank you.
Yeah, I want to say this has to do with security. As you know, they took away our post office, our main, where they actually do a heavy lifting for the people here in Tucson. Security and trust. Who can we trust? So all our mail-in ballots now have to go to Phoenix, unfortunately, and all our mail, like Christmas cards, or our beloved ones, whatever. Do we need a U.S. Marshal to go down there in Phoenix, at the other end of the post office in Phoenix, Arizona, to make sure it's secure and no manipulation and wrong, mischievous conduct on Democrats or anybody who don't trust the voters, especially independent voters who actually do a lot of hard work in changing their ballots to Republican. So I do worry, and our votes need to be counted honestly and faithfully. And at the other end in Phoenix, again, we have no sense of value here at Tucson. So thank you.
I'm not sure how to answer that.
No, I actually do know how to answer that, and it's a great question, so thank you, Terry. He is right. The mail has to come up to Phoenix and go back down to Tucson, and it does hold things up, for one, which we do think that's a shame. But I actually toured the site where the ballots go through and where they're held and it actually goes through a company called Runbeck. Phenomenal, amazing operation that they have. And it's the ballot company, and there's a room that's a holding place for all the ballots. It is, I swear it's like Fort Knox, where they keep these ballots. The security rivals that of, I just wish I could show Terry where these ballots are kept. There's actually fire suppression in the room, obviously, because they're the ballots. There's only a couple of employees that are even allowed to go in the room. There's cameras in the room at all times, and it's all taped and filmed, and it is an amazing, amazing operation. And so Runbeck allowed me to come and see it and make sure that it was up to standards, and we were blown away. And in fact, we had to go through all sorts of security just to even get in there. So
that's refreshing to hear. It's good to know that our ballots are being protected that way, because they are very sacred and they are very valuable. So thank you for making sure that they are taken care of. We do have another caller on the line. That's Cody. Cody, how you doing?
Hey, Sean. Thanks for allowing me on today, buddy.
Always. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I just want to extend a little bit of appreciation to you, man, because you and I have butted heads in the past on a lot of things, but one of the things that amazed me that you and I agree on is the need for greater accountability within the parties, and particularly the lack of requirement for an oath to be on file for the precinct committeeman. And, I think we studied the law a little bit on that, and we did discover that it's very clear the Arizona statutes require, the oath to be filed, but previous attorneys generals have stated that there is no requirement for an oath, and they've relied on some real shaky legal precedents for that. But I think that's a matter that we need to visit because as a precinct committeeman, when I was one, I participated in the get out the vote programs and the like, and I liked the idea, but what I saw was pretty appalling, especially when you had Republican precinct committeemen out there gathering ballot or voter registrations. I had actually witnessed voter registrations being thrown in the trash because they were not marked for the correct party. And so as it is, there is no accountability for that kind of activity. And I think that we have to get serious about the oath of office for the precinct committeeman. So what do you think, Madam Secretary?
Well, first of all, I wish I heard you say that you used to be a precinct committeeman. I wish you still were one.
Well, I'm still in the party, but there's only so much uphill fighting you can do, and you have to take a break after a while. I
know. You sound like my mom. My mom said the same thing, but I urge her to stay a precinct committeeman. We file oaths of office for all different sorts of people, whether it's agency heads or elected officials, or oaths of office are employees of the government. They're coming in our office all the time. So we, I don't know why the Attorney General or what the Attorney General opinion is and why that is so. I do know that all other electeds have to have oaths of office. But the fact is the fact is that they're rarely enforced. And so if they're just going to be seen as a piece of paper that people have to file and just another thing you're filing with government and non-enforceable, then I think the real problem is self-policing, and we need to be self-policing bad behavior that we see.
That's an interesting take on things, because it is about is it just a paper tiger, or does it actually hold some teeth? And it seems to be a paper tiger and doesn't hold any teeth, but it also goes back to interpretation. And have we revisited it since we've had a new Attorney General, and would this Attorney General look at it? So, those are all the steps we'll have to take. But Cody, do appreciate the call.
I'd like to. I'm a firm believer that if we see things we don't like, we have to fight it from within. And so I want to make sure that people like Cody stay involved in the party, and it's frustrating as it is sometimes. And we hear this from Republicans and from Democrats and from Libertarians. You see, there's always turmoil within groups, and but we need to stay involved. In my case, in the case of people who have come to me and said that they're disenchanted. Don't leave. Stay a precinct committeeman and make sure that you don't feel like you're going to get pushed out.
I agree. Dig in and fight and stand up for what you believe in. Michelle, I do have one question. The Secretary of State, Michelle Reagan, is joining me today. For you, we heard a little bit of rumor at the state committeeman meeting with the state party 2 weeks ago about the caucus system coming to Arizona. Do you have any update on that, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, thank you for asking that. It's not that it's not necessarily if the caucus system would be coming to Arizona. Here's what I'm going to be proposing a bill today, in fact, that would ask for the state to stop paying for the presidential primary, or the real name of it is the presidential preference election, and return that to the parties. The thought is I can't find a conservative argument of why we ask the taxpayers to pay $10 million, and that's what it costs to put on the PPE, $9.6 million to be exact. We say that independents can't vote in our presidential primary, which I happen to agree with. We're not electing a candidate in this election. We're electing delegates to go to a state party or a national party convention to elect then our nominee. So it's different than a election of a candidate, and so it's important to point out. And the state law says, this isn't the Secretary of State or the parties that make this rule. The state law says that independents cannot vote in this election on March 22nd. So if independents are not allowed to vote in it, and that's 1/3 of our state's voters, then how can we as conservatives say that the taxpayers then should pay for it?
That's a very valid point, especially at $9.6 million. We could certainly put that into roads or into schools or into somewhere else.
And so I think that this is a party function. If it is a party function of the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, then they need to be paying for it. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean it needs to be a caucus. In 2020, and what my bill says is, legislature, please give me the $9.6 million I need to run this. Oh, and by the way, it's an emergency, and I need it like next month because the election is in March, and it wasn't funded in last year's budget.
Oh, geez.
Which they all agree, we'll get it funded. And then in 2020, I don't think this should be a state expense anymore because I don't think, one, it's fair to the taxpayers to be funding this when 1/3 of the state is excluded. So, but the state parties can then decide over the next 4 years what do they want to do. They can choose to have a full-blown election like we're having now and contract with the Secretary of State's office to do exactly what we're doing now.
To host a $10 million election.
Well, it wouldn't actually be $10 million. It would be less because they wouldn't be bound by all of the state laws and requirements that push it up to $10 million. They wouldn't have to have all the polling places. They wouldn't need to have the publicity pamphlets. They wouldn't need to have all the state-required mailings by statutes, et cetera, that push the costs up so much. But yes, they would have to pay. It would be several $1 million. But they could do what, for instance, South Carolina does, where they charge presidential candidates a cost to be on the ballot. They could decide to do an all-vote-by-mail election. They could turn their party headquarters into polling places with voting centers. They could do any number of things. It's endless what they could decide to do. And if you look at states that do this, it actually drives up the number of people who want to be included in the party system. It also drives up the energy that presidential candidates spend in your state.
And if they spend more, your state makes more, and it's a win for everybody.
Exactly. And, Sean, the history of presidential preference elections, or PPEs, was that they were supposed to be money-making fundraising tools for parties. They were never envisioned as becoming something that a state general fund assumed the cost for.
Yeah, I was like, this isn't a fundraiser for the state. This is or for the state parties. This is a drain on the state itself. This is bad.
Yeah. And we got along fine before 1992. I mean, it always hasn't been this way. This was not something that these elections weren't in place until 1992. So this is a relatively new phenomenon. It's blown into this massive expense, and I think it just needs to be returned back to the parties. Let them decide what they want to do, how they want to do it. If you're going to exclude 1/3 of the state, then that 1/3 definitely shouldn't be paying for it.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. That's a great answer. Secretary of State Michelle Reagan, thank you for joining me today. I got to take a quick break and let you go, but I will have you back on again. Everything that you're doing is just wonderful, and keep doing the great work that you're doing. If people want to get involved or check out your website, you did shorten the link. Isn't it now azsos.gov?
No, that was the long, boring government one. It's so easy now. It's Arizona.vote. So easy to remember. Just our state name, .vote. No W's, no .com, none of that. So Arizona.vote.
Outstanding. Thank you so much again, Secretary of State Michelle Reagan. She is wonderful, guys. Check out our website and go support her. And if you got any questions, get involved and make sure you shoot her a quick email as well. Thanks again for joining me.